Hi, Year 3, it's Mrs. Silverthorne here with some more maths for Tuesday, the 2nd of March. So let's get warmed up. So getting warmed up today, we're going back to some grid method. Now, we haven't done grid method for a little while, so hopefully it'll be one of those ones that you remember nice and quickly though. So just for this very first one, if I show you how to set it out, and then hopefully that will give you a little bit of a hint if you've forgotten. So for this calculation, I want to do 16 times 4. Now, I'm sure you remember I will need to partition the number 16 first, and the number 16 partitions into 10 and 6. And then my number 4 comes down here. There we go. And then what I'll need to do is multiply my 4 by 10 and write my answer in this box. And then multiply my 4 by 6 and write my answer in this box. And then next to it, I will need to do an addition calculation to work out my final answer. So pause the video here and give these 4 grid method questions a go. Okay, so let's have a check on those answers. How did you get on? So hopefully you found that you remembered everything and that you were flying through these like Buzz Lightyear on his way to infinity and beyond. So let's have a little look at our maths that we want to work on today. So our maths that we want to be working on today, we are looking at capacity still. And like we did for maths, we'll be looking at reading mixed values for capacity. So for maths, we looked at kilograms and grams, but for maths, we'll be looking at mixed values of litres and milliliters. So let's have a little look. I can see here, this is quite a large measuring jug. It goes all the way up to 3 litres, and I can see it's got a scale in between. So in between each litre, there are many intervals. Now, looking at where the liquid is in this jug, I can see straight away it's past 1 litre. It's gone all the way up. In fact, it's just underneath 2 litres. So I know that straight away I can say there is 1 whole litre in the jug. I can't say it's 2 litres because the blue line, so the water or the liquid, whatever the liquid is, hasn't quite reached that 2 litre mark yet. So when I'm writing it down, I can write down 1 litre. So I write down 1 and an L. And then I'm actually going to have to write the word and. So a bit like when we did with maths, I should say. And then I'm looking at how many milliliters it's got. So let's see. So we've gone past 1 litre, but how many milliliters has it got inside? So I can see it's quite a few. Let's have a look at how many intervals there are to get to 1 litre. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I count this one. There's 10 intervals to get to 1 litre. Now, I need to remember a little fact. I need to remember that 1 litre is equivalent or the same as saying 1,000 milliliters. That's going to be quite important. So at the moment then, I need to be able to count up these intervals to be able to work out what they are. So I could try counting in 100s. That's usually my first go-to to make sure that I'm counting the right intervals on the scale. So let's have a little look. I need to get to 1,000 milliliters or 1 liter. So I'm going to go 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, haha, 1,000. Okay, so I've just found out then that each of these intervals is worth 100 milliliters. Now, this really helps me because at the moment I've already figured out that I've got 1 liter but I need to figure out how many more milliliters I've got to go with it to make my mixed value. So I've gone past my 1 liter. Now I know it's each interval is worth 100. I can now count upwards in 100 until I get to where the blue line stops. So here we go. I can go, oh, I didn't mean to actually draw that on there then. Let's have a little get rid of you. There we go. Try again. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that is the same as saying 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900 milliliters. There we go. So that is how I would write it. It's very similar to how we would do it with kilograms and grams. So that's what we'll be working on today. Let's have a little look at this one. So for this jug, again, I can see there's more than 1 litre in there, so I will need to have a mixed amount. The first thing I'm going to look at is how many litres are there, how many whole litres. So that's quite easy to do because I can jump up 1 litre, 2 litre, 3 litres, but it's just above the 3 litres. Doesn't quite go up to 4 litres, so I can put in my 3 there for my litres. Now I want to think about how many milliliters go with those 3 liters. So to be able to do that, I go down to the bottom again. I use my number fact. I know that 1 liter is the same as 1,000 milliliters. And so when I am working out the intervals, if I stop on the number 1,000, I know that I am also stopping on 1 liter. So let's try again. Let's see whether it's 100s or 200s or whatever it is I'm counting up in to get to the 1 liter. And that will tell me how many, what each interval is worth. So let's try in hundreds. So we go 100, 200, 300, 400. 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1000. So each of these intervals is worth 100 milliliters again. So that one's a nice, easy one again, isn't it? It's quite easy when it's in 100 intervals because we're just counting in hundreds. So let's have a little look then. Let's go back up to near where the blue line is. I'm going to go to the 3 liters and then I'm going to count on how many intervals it takes to get to the blue line. So I'm going to count 1, 2, and I know that each of those intervals is worth 100 milliliters. So I know that's the same as saying 100, 200. So 200 milliliters. There we go. That's a lot of water. Okay. Now, this one is slightly different because I can see there's less intervals between each of the liters. Now, for this one, this is where we need to, like we did last week, work out what each interval is worth again, but this time it might be that it's worth more than 100 or less than 100, but something different. So straight away, when I'm thinking about how much liquid is in the jug, I can see very, very clearly that it's more than 2 liters. So I can write down 2 liters straight away. So 2L. So that says 2 liters. But I can see that the amount of water doesn't stop at liters. It actually goes above it. So I know that I'm going to have some milliliters I need to write as well. So let's try and work this out. I don't think I can count up in hundreds here to get to my 1 liter or 1,000 milliliters. So let's see. I don't think this is actually going to work if I count up in 100s, but we'll try it and then we'll try something else if it doesn't. So if I counted up in 100s this time, I would go 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. No, I only made it halfway. Now, because I only made it halfway, I can judge that actually each of these intervals must be worth more. So let's try this time. Instead of counting up in 100s, I'm going to try counting up in 200s and see if that helps. So I'm going to count 200, 400, 600, 800, 1000. Ha ha! So each of these intervals is worth 200 milliliters. So let's go back up to where the blue line is. So the blue line is above the 2 liters and it is, let's count how many jumps. It is 1, 2 jumps above the liters. But this time I know that each of those jumps or each of those intervals is worth 200 milliliters. So instead of counting 100, 200 like I was before, I'm actually going to count in 2. So I can count 200, 400. And that's where I stop. So 200. Oh, it's not 200. I told you the wrong thing. It's 400. Oh dear, it's because I've got counting in 200 milliliters on my mind. There we go. So it's quite important that we work out what each of the intervals is worth when we're looking at a mixed value, and particularly a mixed value like this, where actually it's not always 100% clear what it is. Okay, so let's have a little look at this one. This is just a slightly different way of looking at a problem. Each of these bottles hold different amounts of liquid. So the big blue one here with the green lid is 1 liter, or you could say, or 1,000 milliliters. Either one of those would be correct. The purple bottles hold 500 millilitres of liquid, and the small creamy coloured ones, they hold 250 millilitres. Now, I just want us to have a little think and about how much liquid Dexter has with these bottles and how much liquid Eva has with her bottles. Just have a little pause for a moment and see if you can start to think about how much is in each of these bottles and what it would be all together. Okay, so let's have a little look. So I know that the nice tall bottle that Dexter has over here is worth 1 litre. There we go. I know that the purple bottle is worth 500 millilitres. So, oh, I have to do this very small. Because I want to make sure that it's definitely millilitres, not 500 smelly socks in there. I need to do my ml to show millilitres. And the same here, I know that this one is worth 250. Now, when we put this all together, what we will have is a mixed value. So I know that I've got 1 litre here, but I know I've also got some millilitres left over. So let's see, I've got 500 plus 250. Now, when I'm working that out, what I can think about is 500 plus the 200 of 250. So 500 plus the 200 will give me 700. And then 700 plus the 50 left over will give me 750 millilitres. Oh, that was a strange 5 there. There we go. So Dexter has 1 litre and 750 millilitres. Now let's look at Ava. I might actually type this on because I think it would be a bit clearer for you. There we go. And I'm just going to shrink it a little bit so it should fit. Okay, so I can see that Eva has actually got 2 of the purple bottles. So each of those purple bottles is worth 500 millilitres. There we go. So let's type those on. So 500 millilitres. Much easier, much quicker. But then I also know that each of these small creamy coloured bottles, I imagine there's milk or cream in there, is worth 250. So in order for me to work this out, to find out how much Eva actually has, I need to make sure that I am able to add them up. So in this case, I can see I've got the 2 largest amounts here. So I like to start with the largest amounts because I find it easier. So if the 2 largest amounts here, so 500 plus 500, what would that give me? So I can work that out as having 500 in my mind and then count on 5 extra hundreds. Or you might already be able to figure that out mentally and know that actually 500 plus 500 is 1,000. In this case, though, we might write that down as 1 litre because 1,000 millilitres is equivalent or equal to 1 litre. So I'm going to just have a little look here before I go any further. I've got 250 and 250 and another 250. So I just want to check that this isn't going to make up a litre. So I've got 250, 250, 250. What I'm actually going to do is do the 200 from each of them first. So I'm going to go 200 plus 200 plus 200. So I can count that up in 200. So 200, 400, 600. Okay, I'm going to write down 600 over here just so that then I don't forget. So I've got 600 there because I've done the hundreds. Now I'm going to do the 50s. Now we worked on counting in 50s yesterday. So let's count up in 50. So I've got 50, 100, 150. And that altogether is actually not too bad to add up. So 600 plus 150. So 600 plus 100 will give me 700. And then plus the 50 will give me 750. So what that actually means is that Dexter and Eva may have different bottles, but actually they have both got the same amount of liquid because Eva's amount also adds up to 1 litre and 750 millilitres. Okay, let's actually get started then with our maths for today. Your job for today is to look at these 4 jugs, and I would like you to write down the amount that each holds. So pause the video here and write down the amount of liquid each one is holding. Okay, so how did you get on? Have a little look through these answers. Were you able to spot that this one wasn't a mixed amount? This one was just milliliters, but the rest of them were mixed amounts. I hope you got on really well. If you're ready for gold, let's move on. Okay, so for gold, we're still looking at how much liquid is in each of these jugs, but for these ones, you will need to work out what each of the intervals is worth first. So pause the video here and see if you can work out how much liquid is in each of these jugs. Okay, let's have a little look. Did we get it right? So have a little look through, tick through your answers, and if you are ready for platinum, let's move on. Okay, so Amira and Alex are working out the capacity of this pot, and they do it by filling it with water and then pouring the water into the measuring cylinders. Amira says the capacity of the pot, so that means how much the pot can hold, is 302 milliliters. Alex says the capacity of the pot is 2 liters and 300 milliliters. Who do you agree with? And can you explain why? Pause the video here and give it a go. Okay, so for this one, it's actually Alex who is correct and Alex who I agree with. So I agree with Alex because I can see that 2 of the containers are filled up to the 1 liter line, which is the same as 2 liters. And the other container is filled up to 300 milliliters. And altogether, this makes 2 liters and 300 milliliters. I think what Amir has done he's found the 300 milliliters all right, but then he has done 300 milliliters plus 2 milliliters, which is not correct because what he's actually got there is 2 liters. That is the same as 2,000 liters. That's enough of our maths for today. I hope you got on really, really well. And I'm going to stop there and I will catch you tomorrow for some more maths. Take care.